There she is, there she is, there's what keeps me up at night. Oh gee whiz, there's why I can't eat a bite. Those flaming eyes, that flaming youth. Oh mister, oh sister, tell me the truth.
Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. The scenario is Reeling Midnight. It was written by Tom Lynch, and it's included in a collection called New Tales from the Miskatonic Valley. Our game master is Tyler Hudak, and this is episode 3. Our recap will be given by me as my character, Detective Benjamin Armand. So without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Well, I was afraid this was going to be a dull case. You have expectations when rich people hire you to find their kid, and it's easy to understand why they're concerned, but I feel we've all made a terrible error in judgment. We thought the best way to gain some information was to attend one of these weekly bacchanals thrown by the Hungarian aristos. It wasn't exactly lavish, but it was decadent, and the crowd was made up of mostly younger folk. I met this Zoltan Vargas, and he seemed snooty enough. Nothing sinister in my opinion, but it was the daughter that we were waiting for. When she finally appeared, I could see what all the boys meant. Phew, what a hot tomato. I'll admit I was actually wondering why she was wasting her time with a bunch of boys, when what she needed was a real man. But she wasn't interested in us middle-aged folks. She wanted fresh meat. So while people were distracted, I secreted myself up to take a poke around the upstairs and didn't find much of anything. Zoltan had a stack of cabbage upstairs in his wardrobe, which looked like enough to tide him over for a while. I also found some long brunette hairs on his bed, which may or may not mean anything. I then checked on the maid's room. I think her name's Frida. It was plain and Spartan, like you'd expect. Down the other end of the hall, I could hear someone getting a little horizontal refreshment, if you know what I mean. So I decided to make my getaway back down the stairs. There I consulted with the others. Garland had finally located Eugene in the basement, getting high on reefer. I told the others, in my opinion, this just seemed like an ordinary shindig. Ariadne seemed like a modern girl, a little loose with her mores, as were most of the guests. She liked sleeping with the handsome young men, but from the variety of classes and backgrounds, I wouldn't have guessed that she was trying to finagle anyone's cheese. How do we handle a situation where Eugene, a grown man, is just trying to have himself a thrill with a pretty girl, and he's not in any real danger, either for himself or for his family's money? Yep, that's what I thought. Not any real danger. What a lousy moron I am. So the gong rings, the bacchanal starts, and Miss Ariadne wafts down the stairs dressed in a diaphanous white robe. She sensually flirts with all the boys and then picks Eugene, who follows her up the stairs. I could see clearly that old Zoltan was not really happy at his niece's behavior, but she's an independent woman, and his snooty European manners keep him from pressing the issue any further. So up they go. We figure we'll wait until he's had time to sow his wild oats and then take him home happy and drunk. But then a gunshot rings out. We all rush up the stairs, and I catch a glimpse of someone running down the hall. Instinctively, I go after him, and I catch him trying to escape through the window. It was Stuart Portman, drunk and belligerent and screaming for his lawyer. I call Harvey over to help me restrain the guy, and he tells me what they found inside. From what he said, Eugene was shot dead on the floor. Miss Ariadne had jumped or was thrown out of a window, and there was some very odd sticky cord blocking the door. Can't say this case is dull now, that's for sure.
All right, so as we open up, if everybody can remind me where everybody is. I know some of you are in the room, some of you are in the hallway.
I've called Harvey. He's come over to where I am.
And then I'm with the Vandermollens in the bedroom, trying to calm down Garland and dealing with the crime scene.
Yeah, I took a decent sanity hit for seeing Eugene.
So in the bedroom, again, Eugene is on the floor. He is fully clothed. The gun is lying next to him. The blood continues to seep out into what looks like a very expensive Oriental rug on the floor. Zoltan, as he was in there, he had run in there, looking around for Ariadne. He ran to the window, the open window in the room, looked down, and then tore out of the room. I believe one of you had also gone to the window and you had seen Ariadne on the ground outside. For Harvey and Benjamin, you had Benjamin, you had kind of restrained Stuart Portman,
Right.
who is even as you restrain him, he's saying things like, "I don't need to justify myself to the likes of you. Take it up with my lawyer," and he keeps trying to push through you. I believe you pulled out your gun, if I remember right.
That's right, I did.
Which has definitely subdued him a little bit.
Like, Harvey, put some cuffs on him.
All right.
You should have cuffs.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, boy, you ain't going nowhere. Why'd you do it? Why'd you shoot him?
I don't know what you're talking about. What, shoot who? I heard a gunshot go off, and I decided I needed to get out of here. I didn't want anybody thinking that I had done something, which obviously you have.
That's a likely story. We'll let you call your lawyer, but not yet. We're going to question you first, the old-fashioned way.
You're breaking a 1027 there, Stuart. Fleeing the scene of a felony. That could get you in a lot of hot water.
And he just continues on. You're just going to have to talk to my lawyer. You're going to hear from my lawyer. For those in the bedroom, Zoltan has run out. Where we ended it last time was that the white cords that had of some sticky material that had kind of kept the doors shut. It's what prevented you from just immediately opening the door. They started as you're in there, they start to dissipate and disappear, kind of evaporate in front of your eyes. Before you do, I believe at least one or two of you had touched them. It felt very sticky, almost like a webbing type sticky.
Yeah, I got a idea that this reminded me a lot of spider silk, just a lot bigger.
Yes.
Now, as I'm kind of over Eugene, still in a little bit of a daze and disbelief almost, he has the Derringer in his hand. Is it smoking? Is that the gun that fired?
Yeah, it is definitely the gun that fired.
And it is near his hand, as though he pulled the trigger on himself?
Give me I don't know if any of you would have like a criminology type skill.
That's going to be my...
No.
I have a lot of law.
Law, I'll give you that for law. Otherwise, just roll, I guess, idea.
Oh, 08. That is an extreme success on law.
Yeah, so if you made it, you do see, powder burns on his hand and actually on his mouth as well.
I should have done something. I knew he had the gun. I knew he wasn't in the right head.
I turned from the door. Mr. Vandermolen, there's nothing you could have done. I don't even know, because I didn't see this. What did you just notice?
He shot himself. I mean, he had this gun and the powder burns. I mean, look, he was in his hands. He's the one who pulled the trigger.
Yeah, Garland, what happened to Eugene obviously is not your fault, although it is a pity we didn't get here sooner or act more decisively, or it's a pity his parents didn't call us a week ago. Maybe we could have avoided this. But whatever brought him to this sorry pass, we did what we could. You talked to him, he didn't listen. And I'm going to, unless Garland is too distressed to turn from, I'm going to look out the window. I want to see what, if people lift Ariadne or, Zoltan appears or if she stirs.
Yeah, so as you look out the window, you do see Zoltan just kind of come around the corner, head over to Ariadne, and he kind of leans over to her, and you can see her starting to stir as your eyes kind of adjust to the darkness a little bit. It looks like maybe that she landed on some bushes or something that were underneath that might have broken her fall somewhat. And he kind of helps her up, and very slowly she starts to walk back / limp back towards the front of the house. Within less than a minute, Benjamin and Harvey, you're assuming you're still on the second floor, kind of in that area overlooking the front hallway or vestibule. You see Zoltan and Ariadne come in, and you can hear him kind of encouraging her to come in, and he starts leading her towards the sitting room. A crowd of people have also kind of gathered in the vestibule area, some of whom are gathering their things and leaving.
So once we have the young fellow restrained, I'm going to tell Harvey to keep a hold of him. I got to go. I'm the detective. I'm going to go look at the room.
Yeah.
We need to call the police. We need to get somebody here.
Yeah, call the police.
Yep.
From the window to where the shrubs where she fell, 20 feet?
Roughly. You're on the second floor, so 15, 20 feet.
So depending on how she fell, she could have snapped her neck, or she could be more or less okay. I wouldn't have moved her.
I joined him at the window. She's up then.
Yeah.
Oh, the boy's killed, huh? Let's take a look. Are we sure he's dead? Can I feel for a...
Oh, yeah. You definitely feel for a pulse. There's none there. And I mean, you can... I'm sure, in your police work, you've seen head wounds and suicide victims. This is what it kind of looks like to you.
Now, where did he shoot himself?
Yeah, in the mouth, out the back of the head.
Oh, he did. Well, I'm going to collect the gun with my pen because I don't want to touch it. Pearson can always stick the gun to make it look like a suicide. Is he on his back?
Yes, he'd be lying on his back.
I mean, look at the powder burns. What else could have happened?
Well, I mean, we don't know what happened. That's the whole point. We keep an open mind until we find out for sure what all the evidence puts together. I look over at the bed. Is it unmade? Was she lying on the bed?
The bed is made. It does not look like it has been used.
So she hadn't, and there's none of her clothing on the ground.
No, and you remember they had gone up maybe 5 minutes.
Right.
From the time they went up there to when this happened.
There's no time for anything to have happened unless the boy was waiting in the room and he orchestrated this somehow. We'll have to question Ariadne and so forth, but I'm going to look completely around the room at everything.
While he's doing that, I'm going to sidle over. You didn't see this because we got in here before you did, but we couldn't get the door open for a good while. It was stuck.
How? Is there a chair?
No, it's a little hard to believe, but I sort of hold up my hand just to show the residue. It was the only thing I can really describe. It was like, think of the world's largest spider made a web across that door. But as you can see, I gestured at the door. I watched it dissipate myself.
So is there a wet stain where it was?
You look, where she's pointing. I won't make you make any rolls or anything like that. From a distance, it looks normal, but the closer you get to it, you don't see like a stain, almost like a dusty off coloring. And if you were to rub your hand over it, you feel like this almost like texture or powdery texture on it. That something was definitely there, but whatever it was is gone.
You know,
the door was all gummed up, and it was gummed up bad enough that it took two of us to open it, even though it wasn't locked. So it was.
I'm the odd thing that comes into my mind is I don't know if you've ever had this this Chinese candy that's wrapped in paper, but you pop the paper in your mouth and the paper disintegrates, dissolves. And I know the Chinese make some silk things out of, you said spider silk. I don't know. How bizarre.
I mean, the door was stuck. You're talking about like somebody shot Eugene, but Eugene is the one who shot himself. How could they gotten out of the room? We couldn't even get in.
That's
And
the only way out was the way.
I'm looking around for any other way out of the room, even the secret passageway.
No, I mean, looking around the room, it's a fairly decently sized bedroom. It has one door, one window, and one door. The window is the one that's opened. The door leads to a closet. Looking around the room itself, it's just, there are some generic paintings hanging on the wall. Probably something that you would consider like calendar art. Something like that. There are some cheap knickknacks around a couple shelves and tabletops. The only really thing of note, other than just like clothes, dresser and bed and all that, is there's a stack of movie magazines that kind of fill up one of the chairs. Like she had been reading them and just kept like stacking them up.
What kind of bed is it?
Size.
Is it a bed with an area underneath?
Yeah. It's like a 4-post bed.
I'll get down to make sure.
Really nice.
So it's a 4-post. Okay. So I'm going to look down and maybe get down on my hands and knees, look under the bed and see if there's anything.
You look under, other than some dust and things like that. There's nothing underneath there.
Is there a bathroom in this?
No, not in this room. You remember though that there was a bathroom across the hall.
And I'll walk over to the window too. And is it a window or a balcony?
Window.
It's a window. And does it look like the window was opened, or does it look like it was already open?
It was either opened or already opened. It was not broken.
She fell all that way.
Yeah, and you look down and you do see, it did look like Ariadne had when she was fallen or pushed or whatever happened. She hit some bushes, which seemed to at least partially break her fall. Looking as you kind of peer outside the window, you do hear the sound of sirens in the distance.
Are there screens on other windows?
Screens? No.
Screens.
Say that one more time.
I wondered if there were screens on the windows. It's a warm evening.
No.
So the windows all over the house are open.
Yeah.
And people are just shooing away.
Yeah.
Oh, looking out the window, is there any way somebody could have climbed up the window?
Not without a ladder or something like that. There's no vines,
no
there's no trellis or anything like that. Yeah, and there's no ladder that you can see. Harvey, you're either in the doorway or in the hallway, I assume, kind of holding on to Stuart Portman.
Yeah, I'm putting the heat on him.
Yeah, he's still kind of struggling, threatening you with his lawyer. He's getting quieter and quieter, though. As you're standing there, though, you do see Zoltan kind of walk, from the sitting room, which, if you recall, the way that it was laid out, there was the foyer that you had walked into with the stairs that led upstairs, and then to the right, the room to the right was the sitting room. He walks out of there, and you can hear him saying to everyone there, and he kind of sees you upstairs and says that as well. The police have been notified. Please, if you're not directly involved, I suggest you take this opportunity to leave. And you can also
I personally don't think anybody should leave until the police have gotten here, because we don't know who's involved in this.
Yeah, this is a police matter.
I suppose if you were downstairs.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Who else is involved?
Well, Garland, we don't know whether he pushed her out the window and then felt regret, or whether they had a tussle and that's how he got shot and she threw herself out the window. and we don't know if there was, something else going on. It's just, it's a situation that requires investigation.
Exactly.
And maybe, and I'm going to sort of put an arm around him and lead him out of the bedroom because he probably should not spend any more time with Eugene's corpse. It's not doing him any good.
No.
And I'm going to start taking him downstairs. I'd like to see if anybody was outside, because it's interesting to me whether the gunshot happened before she fell or whether the gunshot happened after she fell.
So as you start walking down the stairs, a couple things you notice. So you get about halfway down the stairs. Oh, first off, Garland, are you going with him? Are you letting him lead you out of the room?
Yeah.
Okay. So you both start going down the stairs along with anybody else who is following you. As you kind of get halfway down, the first thing you notice is the house is almost empty now. Everybody who was here, they are gone. The only people that you see standing around are Frida is kind of ushering people out in the way that she does it. Glenda is standing kind of in the corner. I think she's once she sees you, she kind of, it was obvious that she was looking for you. And then Zoltan is kind of standing in the doorway of the sitting room, kind of ushering people out. As Gerhard Winch, if you recall, he was the kind of spiritualist who is there, walks by. Zoltan gets this really angry look on his face, and you can hear him say, "And you stay away from her. You and your magic mumbo jumbo. You don't ever come back here again." And with that, Gerhard, starts to kind of slink out of the room, out the front door. When you get down to the bottom of the stairs, immediately Glenda comes up to you and starts going, "Thaddeus, are you okay? What happened? We've heard that somebody was killed."
Yes, Glenda, I'm afraid our friend, your friend and mine, Eugene, has been shot. We don't know quite what happened. Did you see Ariadne come in?
Yeah, she's in the sitting room. Zoltan had Frida bring her some brandy to calm her nerves. She looked like she was hurt and she was mumbling something. I couldn't quite hear it. And with that, you can hear the sirens get louder and louder outside. She kind of starts looking around, a little unsure, what to do.
Before the police come, I want to question Ariadne. So,
okay.
Yeah, Glenda, thank you for looking up for me. And I will give her my personal card and say, I think you should probably scoot before the police arrive.
Thank you. I think that's a great idea. Please, I'll give you a call, or I'm like I said, I'm going to be down at Gleason's department store. That's where I work. Come see me. And with that, she kind of leans in, gives you a hug, kisses your cheek, and then turns around and kind of hurriedly goes out the door. Benjamin and I guess whoever else is following him. As you walk into the sitting room, you see it exactly the way that you expected it to be, except all the alcohol has disappeared out of this room, and likely out of the entire house has been kind of hidden away. Ariadne is kind of sitting in one of the chairs. She does have a glass of brandy in her hand, kind of like half drank. She's looks to little be in somewhat of a daze, just kind of looking around the room, having this like distant stare in her eyes. And as you walk into the room, Zoltan kind of puts a hand on you and says, "Please, the police are coming. You should probably go."
Well, I'm a detective, so.
And
I'm sorry. I'm a detective. I need to talk to her.
And unfortunately, we were here to discover the body, so we need to speak to the police as it is.
Oh, okay. Well, he looks a little confused, and then he looks over at Harvey, who's got Stuart in cuffs, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to now put him in a chair, politely but firmly, so he can wait there until the police come. He was fleeing the scene of a crime.
He's kind of resigned himself now. He's still not happy, but he's at least compliant. Zoltan seems to say, well, all right, I guess the police will likely want to speak to all of you. And with that, he kind of, takes his hand off you. It wasn't anything, like he was pushing you or anything like that. He just, politely stopping you.
Well, we're not going to be indiscreet about your party.
I
Most of them probably know you have parties.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that.
Did you know the young fellow?
Only that he had been here at the party a number of times. Ariadne had invited him. Other than that, I believe we had talked once or twice. But other than that, no. This is a complete shock.
Of course, something like this would certainly be to anyone, but especially to the other victim of the scene. I sort of glanced over because, again, I'm pretty tall. I can probably sort of glance over his shoulder. How's Ariadne looking?
She's just kind of sitting in the chair. She's got this like distant stare in her eyes. She's just kind of just like staring across the room. She's like physically, she's got some scratches and likely a bruise or two on her. Her dress is ripped up a little bit from the fall, but other than that, she seems to be okay.
Okay, but like, it's like physically she's here, but mentally maybe not.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that mentally she's probably in shock.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to go over to her. Excuse me, Miss Vargas. You might have remembered me from the party. I'm Detective Benjamin Armand. I know you're quite disturbed by what happened. Can you tell me what happened after you entered the room with Mr. Eugene? I don't remember Eugene's last name.
Wilcox.
Wilcox.
She just kind of stares at you for like 10 or 15 seconds, like she's processing what you're saying to her. And then it finally kind of, registers with her. And she looks at you and says, he just pulled out a gun and pointed it at me. He started to yell at me. And so I opened the window. I had to get out of there. And as I backed towards the window, he put the gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger, and then I fell, and that's all I remember.
Do you remember what he said to you?
She kind of looks down. No, I don't remember. I don't remember any lot. I don't remember a lot. It's just images in my head. I don't.
Well, try and give me the information that you have. I mean, the police have been called. They'll be here. I can be a lot less intimidating than the police. And if there's a crime that's been committed here, I'm the one who will find it.
I don't know. He was just saying that. I don't remember what he was yelling about. He kept. I remember him threatening to shoot me.
Why would he want to shoot you?
I don't know. We had gone up, and then we were starting to get intimate, and then all of a sudden he did this. I don't know why. I can't remember.
How close is Zoltan hovering to this conversation?
He can hear it. He's the chair that she's sitting in is maybe 5 feet from the door. Or the doorway. It's pretty close, so he can overhear everything. He's kind of keeping a pretty close watch over her.
Do you know what the substance was that was on the door? The ropes that were holding the door closed.
There wasn't anything on the door. I don't remember seeing anything.
Can I don't know, let's use psychology. Can I do the psychology to see if I think she's lying?
Yeah, you all can. You all can.
Got 72 out of 75.
14. I just missed an extreme success, but it's a hard.
Oh, hard as well. Yeah.
So for those of you who made it, she does seem to be telling the truth. She is definitely in shock. Her memory probably is not all there, but everything, as far as you can tell that she's saying, is the truth. Dr. Sybil, give me an EDU roll.
Okay. 46 out of 85, so I just missed a hard, but it's a regular.
So, as she's talking, she's kind of mumbling, and she's not speaking very loudly, but and it's very hard to tell, but you catch, like, every once in a while how her accent seems to drop. Nobody else catches this, but just because you've been to Hungary, you know the Hungarian language. It just kind of, very subtly in your ears, you pick it up. And it's only for, brief seconds.
I keep that in the back of my head, but don't say anything. As you're there, you all hear the sirens get louder, as if they were out in front, and then as police sirens often do when the car stops, the sirens go silent, signaling that the police have arrived.
Just before that happens, I'm going to say to Dr. Benz and Thaddeus and Garland, if you want to leave, it's up to you, but the police are going to want to question you.
I probably should stay. I found the body.
Yeah, I think we're material witnesses, and they're already here. Garland, you can handle it, right?
Yeah. No,
You're looking better. Your color's coming back. I'm sorry about your acquaintance.
I can talk to them. It's a little bit of a shock, but I'll be fine.
Rather. Dr. Vance.
Yes.
Can you? Frida was kind of acting like a doorman.
Mm-hmm.
If she understands any Hungarian, ask her whether the gunshot happened before or after the girl fell.
I will go over. I'm not expecting much, but I'll ask her anyway. So I lean over to Frida and very quietly ask in Hungarian, did the gunshot happen before or after Lady Varga fell?
She for 10 seconds or so, she just gives you a blank look. Mm-hmm. And then she just smiles really widely and nods yes.
I just give a small smile and sidle back over to Thaddeus. She's not. And then I sort of murmur in his ear, she's not Hungarian. She did not understand me at all.
Frida sounds like a German name.
With that, a uniformed officer walks in, and along with a detective. Benjamin, you immediately, and Harvey, you probably do as well. I think you were with him when you went to the police station. You recognize the detective who walked in as Ray Stuckey. He was the detective that you talked to at the Arkham PD about the parties and when you were doing that kind of pre-investigation. Almost immediately as they walk in, Stuart Portman just starts yelling out, they're holding me against my will. You need to let me go. I want to talk to my lawyer. Just immediately off, very, very loudly. The detective, just kind of looks at him and then sees you and just kind of looks over you and with like his arms raised, like what is going on?
This is Ray Stuckey.
Yeah.
Hi, Ray.
Hey.
So, to put it simply, we were working a case here. We were looking for a young man. His parents were looking for him, wanting us to escort him home. And he's now upstairs dead. And now it looks like a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but I don't see any reason either from his parents or from Garland's statement that he was the kind of a fellow who would kill himself. He and this young woman here went upstairs to have a bit of a fling. It was kind of a bacchanal, those kind of modern parties. And gunshot rings out, and I catch this boy up here, the one that we got cuffed, running away from the area, trying to climb out the window. So
he looks kind of confused, and the whole time Portman is still kind of yelling to the point where Stucky kind of holds up his hand to you to hold for a second, and he looks over at him and says, "Hey, pal, shut up. Let's just keep the death toll to one person tonight, all right?" And with that, Portman shuts his mouth. He looks back at you and kind of scans the room, seeing everyone, and says, "I'm confused. Is this your house?"
No. This is Mr. Vargas and his daughter.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got
throw
you.
Parties.
I see. And so he looks over at Zoltan, and he looks over at Ariadne, and he says, "All right, well, I'll tell you what, all of you stay here. Let me have a look around. Nobody leave." And with that, he walks upstairs. He and the officer walk upstairs. You can hear the door open. I think you said that you had shut it. And a couple minutes later, he comes back down. Says, "All right, who was here with the gentleman up here? You said his name was Eugene."
Yeah,
Yes.
Eugene Wilcox.
We didn't come here with them. We came here looking for him.
Was he in some type of trouble?
No. His parents were worried about him, so we came to talk to him to try to get him to go back home, but he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen to us.
And then, of course, once he and Lady Varga headed upstairs, you know the rest.
All right, so
I'll give the detective a card and introduce myself and my son and explain that they're students together. That we know that young Wilcox was carrying the pistol, although we didn't know that until immediately before the incident. And his parents were concerned not about his mental state, but about his relationships potentially with young women.
We'll also explain to him why we're all together.
Mm-hmm. We were all hired by Mr. and Mrs. Wilcox to investigate this matter. I also introduced myself. I'm Dr. Sybil Bentz. I teach Eastern European history at Miskatonic.
All right. I tell you what, the officer here is going to take down all of your information. Let me talk to Mr. Varga for a second. And with that, he kind of turns over, walks towards Zoltan. You can hear them talking, basically, asking him to describe what happens. And from what you can hear, it's kind of, you're kind of half hearing it because the other officer is coming over and taking your names and contact information, things like that. And at one point you do hear Detective Stucky ask, had he been drinking, and Zoltan responds, "Well, not that I know of." And after a couple minutes, he goes over and starts to talk to Ariadne. Again, you're all kind of in close proximity, so you can hear all this. And she recounts the story pretty much the same as the way that she recounted it to Benjamin, where Eugene had come in, or they had gone up together, that as they were starting to get things on, he all of a sudden started to freak out. He pulled out his gun, was threatening her, and as she was trying to back away, she was threatening to jump out of the window if he didn't stop, when all of a sudden he pulled the gun on himself and shot himself, and she kind of lost her balance and fell. And that's all that she remembers. With that, the detective comes over to both Harvey and Benjamin and says, "Look, this seems like a suicide to me. Do you have any evidence otherwise?"
We have a young man who was upstairs when everyone else was downstairs, and then suddenly was trying to run out the window.
Yeah. All right. So with that, he walks over to Portman, who's kind of just sitting there, and goes, "All right, well, what's your story? Why were you up there? Why were you trying to get away?" And just like before, Portman at first starts to, balk and say, "Look, you need to talk to my lawyer. You have no right to keep me here. They have, taken me against my will. This is kidnapping. I'm going to sue all of you." He's looking right at Benjamin and Harvey. The detective obviously isn't having any of that, so he kind of smacks him upside the head, and the Portman, his eyes get wide, and all of a sudden he just kind of breaks down, and he starts saying, "All right, look, I'd gone up there, I was mad that Ariadne had chosen Eugene and not me. And so I was standing outside the door to see if I could hear anything. And that's when I heard the gunshot. I didn't want, somebody to think that I had, I was the one who, shot somebody. So I wanted to get out of there. And I ran down the hallway to the window, and I was trying to get out the window.
Ask him if he heard them saying anything inside the room while he was eavesdropping.
Portman says, "No, you couldn't hear anything in that room. I swear. All I heard was the gunshot. You couldn't hear anything."
No yelling, no threats.
Yeah, no conversation. That's odd.
No, not that I could hear. I swear. Please let me go. I just came here for the party. I swear I didn't hear anything other than the gunshot.
You didn't see anything else upstairs either?
No, not until these two came up and, tackled me and, put me in these, and he holds up his hand, or I guess he probably can't because they're probably behind his back, but.
Our two stories are not lining up with each other. If he was yelling at her, he should have heard that through the door. And either he wasn't at the door, and we didn't see him at the door. We saw him running down the hall.
I don't understand why Eugene would threaten her. He was telling me that he was
understand why
going to
Eugene-
shoot anybody that disrespected her honor. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why he would.
And I remember Eugene from my classes. And he was a quiet, gentle boy, a bit of a hothead, but aside from that, threatening someone with a gun? That wasn't like him.
He didn't seem like a fellow who was depressed. Or...
Did when Stuart was stating what he experienced at the door, did he seem like he was sort of making stuff up, or did he seem very adamant and sincere? Or
go ahead and give me a psychology roll.
Okay. Oh, phooey. Wow, it's terrible. I've got a great psychology, but I rolled a 99. This reminds me of last night.
Yeah, but this is the 1920s, so when he refused to answer our questions and call for a lawyer, that makes him automatically guilty. Take him down.
Yeah, as far as you can tell, he's telling the truth.
Okay.
Well, we got a mystery here, one that we were right here privy to watch, and we can't solve it. Right on the,
And Stucky said, look, I looked up there, with what she's saying, I'm not seeing any signs of foul play. And with that, you see two gentlemen in kind of like a white, almost like scrubs, walk in through the front door. And he's like, "Hey, up there, guys." With that, they carry like a stretcher up. Benjamin, you would know that these guys are probably from the medical examiner's office, or they're here to take the body.
I'm sorry. Can I go home now? I can't look at him again.
Like Stucky says, "Yeah, look, you should all go. We've got your contact information. Look, I'm not gonna lie. Everything seems to at least be looking like a suicide. So we'll do some more investigation. But with that, I think you all you should probably go. It's been a long night for you."
Mr. Vandermolen, we're going to have to go inform Mr. and Mrs. Wilcox.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Stucky says, "Yeah," and when you say that, Stucky says, "Look, I have to make the notification tonight. So, I'll do that if you want to, whatever you guys or whenever you all want to stop over, feel free. But
well, you got to understand that we were hired to take him out of here, and now he's dead.
Officer, there is not, or detective rather, is it? I understand that it's your responsibility in the broad municipal sense. Is it out of line for us as private citizens who were near witnesses to proceed that?
No, look, do what you want. I'm not going to stop you from that. But as part of the official duty, I'm gonna have to do that. I'm just saying, if this had happened to you, would you want a bunch of people plus the police over there?
No.
It might be, I'm just saying it might be better to wait, till morning or, later on, but, I'm not going to stop you.
Fair enough. Thank you. Mr. Varga, you don't think there's any chance that Ariadne needs to see a medical professional tonight, do you? You're sure she's not damaged in any way that isn't obvious?
No, thank you. My niece just needs her rest. If I asked, if you could all, if you all could go, she's going to go to bed after this. And I promise you, if we do see any need for medical assistance, we will take her.
Of course. While he's talking, I sort of give Benjamin a fairly significant eye contact and then sort of tilt my head slightly toward the door.
With the front door?
Well, yeah. It's sort of like a let's get out of here type thing.
Right. Well, let's just go. I don't think I'm going to say anything. I don't want to say thank you for a lovely evening. So,
such as it was.
All right, so
let's all convene.
So you walk out into the cool night air. All of the cars that had previously been there, that had lined the street, causing you to have to park down the block, are gone. The only two cars that you can see, other than yours, kind of a block away, are is the police car and the hearse.
As soon as we're far enough away from the house, I sort of get everyone sort of near me. Her accent was dropping.
So they're frauds. They're frauds. What does it matter anymore? I don't know.
I don't know if it may or may not actually be worth anything, but when you were talking to her, Benjamin, I was listening and I could hear her accent start to drop.
But frauds are not, and we kind of suspected that they might be from the very beginning.
Well, people
I didn't see any real criminal activity. I had no reason to suspect them of any foul play until the gunshot.
I mean, they're living above their means. They're borrowing, but they have cash in piles. And something drove poor Eugene to kill himself.
And then, of course, the giant spider silk.
There was something funny about the door.
Completely disappeared and left no evidence, really.
But I mean,
that could be some sort of a trick, but
no. But, I mean, when I was downstairs with Eugene, he said he was so upset by people who were going after Ariadne's name. Her saying that he would threaten her, it doesn't make any sense. He wouldn't have changed that much in a matter of walking up a flight of stairs, would he?
He wanted to sleep with her, right?
I believe so.
I mean, that's the whole point. Everybody wanted to sleep with the young woman.
I mean, he was obsessed. I don't know why he would. I don't know why he would do that.
Could it be, sleep with me or I kill myself? But
that doesn't make any sense.
That anyway.
Maybe Stuart is lying and was actually in the room as well.
But how would he get out? How would he get out, Harvey? You didn't try to break in there. It was impossible to get in there.
There would have been now, could we see the door from downstairs?
The door is on sort of landing.
But we didn't see him running away from.
No,
we didn't see him running away from the door.
No,
right?
but
if he was right outside with his ear to the door when the gunshot happened, we weren't
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably see like the top half of the door from the vantage below. So if he was like leaning down, you would not be able to see him.
Right. And believe me, Benjamin, when you if you'd seen how gummed up that door was, there was no way anyone was getting through until it started to dissolve.
Yeah, it took two of us to bash it down.
Yeah, but that's the part of the whole thing that makes no sense whatsoever.
Well,
Was there a second door to the room?
No, just a closet.
Closet and a window. The window was probably open.
Unless Stewart was in the room, then fled, then the door was blocked up.
The biggest problem was I think the second the gun went off, anybody in the hall would have looked right up at that room and they would have seen him running away.
Yeah.
By the time we ran immediately up the stairs, and when we did, he was halfway down the hall heading for the window to climb out.
Is it possible he saw something?
He certainly is acting very suspicious with the whole call my lawyer thing.
Well, we know at the very least that either he or Ariadne's lying, unless the door is so soundproof that you couldn't hear someone yelling and threatening, which I do not believe.
I mean,
right.
Unless that material that disappeared absorbed
You said it was
sound.
just some ropes.
It was ropey.
It was rope-like, but like I said, the only thing I can really compare it to is webbing from the world's largest spider.
That doesn't make any sense. Where did it come from? I mean, and then it just.
Well, but what we have to decide, what hour is it? Is it like 1:30?
Yeah, it's after midnight. It's probably 1:30 by this point, at least.
So we have to decide whether we're going to take the detective's advice and let him break the news to Wilcox's, or whether we're going to wake them up in the early morning.
I feel responsible. We kind of
I feel
failed.
responsible, but I also feel like he's right that they might prefer to absorb the matter before being inundated with us and our questions and apologies.
I don't think we have any questions. Tell him. Let him.
And he has to tell her anyways. Well, them anyway. So I don't think us being there is going to affect much.
But I mean, maybe there's a little more we could do. I mean, the atmosphere of these parties, there was some element of it that drove him to such a drastic step. I mean, there was something the last week with that man. His name,
the German charlatan.
Vinch? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Gerhard.
Vinch.
Vinch. Spirituals.
The thing is that we have a mystery that has some missing pieces to it. And the fact is, we know that they've had these parties every week or so, and that a lot of the guests have been there multiple times, which could mean that anybody involved could have the time to plan a murder, something like that. I find it very difficult in assessing Mr. Eugene that he would commit suicide. It makes no sense. Is he young, handsome?
Money.
Maybe a little obsessed with the girl, but he got the girl.
Almost. So Garland, who else was in the cellar smoking with him?
Abbott, I think. His name, he was with his friend, the guy I tried to get, Gordon Checkley.
Do you know the Checkley fellow much?
I know. I mean, he's an acquaintance of mine, but it's kind of a washout. He never just. The family money is all that he needs, and he has no desire to do anything with himself.
It was cowardly of him to run off before he even knew his friend was dead.
Right. Keeper, did I ever have him in class? Gordon, I mean.
I mean, you might have. If let's say you did, and I mean, the only reason you remember him is just he did so poorly in your class, like almost like he was trying to do bad. It was very obvious that he was just probably going to school to he was being forced to go to school probably.
Okay. Yes, I had the honor of having him attend one of my classes, and well, it's very easy to see when someone doesn't really want to be there. I'll put it that way.
Well, that's half the students in the country. I think there's going to be this connection between Eugene Wilcox and Stuart Portman, a rivalry, some reason why Stuart would want to kill or orchestrate the seeming murder of.
But did you look at his hands? You cuffed him. Were there any powder burns on his hands?
Yeah, but you could grab somebody's hand and put their gun in their own mouth and pull the trigger.
No, but if he was doing that, he would have been burned too, wouldn't he?
Oh, you mean Wilcox?
No, I'm talking about.
I mean, you mean Portman?
If Portman shot him, he'd have powder burns too.
And why would Ariadne lie to protect somebody who murdered a man in her bedroom?
And where would they have gotten the spider?
Dr. Bentz, what are you even talking about?
There is no spider.
What does that even mean?
Okay, Garland, did you see the door?
Yeah, but it's.
And Thaddeus, you saw it with me.
Yes, I mean, the stuff was sticky and it gave us quite a problem, but of course, spider silk does not evaporate on contact with light. It was something else.
You gave us a very vivid description of it, but it's going to be something that has those qualities, but it wasn't spider silk. How could it be spider silk? Spider that size would be the size of the house itself.
Like where would it have gone if such a thing even existed? Which it's impossible. It's impossible. That's not important.
I'm more inclined to believe that maybe there was some substance that.
Well,
why? What's the point? Why,
did they do some kind of hallucinogen?
Whatever it was, we know, Harvey and Thaddeus, you couldn't get the door down on your own until it started to dissipate. We know this.
Let's assume for a moment that Eugene. This was Eugene. Eugene was going to threaten her and then commit suicide. He was threatened her, somehow used some substance to block the door, and then commit suicide.
No, but I mean...
But no other scenario quite fits.
But even
Ariadne wasn't blocking the door to keep him in. He wanted to be in there.
And why threaten her and then shoot yourself? That doesn't make any sense. I mean,
So
she seems a little out of it. What if there was some kind of substance in there? What if they were seeing things that weren't real? I mean, maybe this isn't a matter of depression. Maybe Eugene saw something so shocking from whatever hallucination he experienced that he.
How much do we really know though about Eugene? Could he have been a disturbed young man?
We have to go to his apartment. He hasn't been living at home.
The drugs he was using might not have just been smoking marijuana downstairs. He might have been having some heavy hallucinogens.
It's certainly possible.
I don't know what there is.
I only saw the reefer down there, but I mean he lives in an apartment, doesn't he?
No, so Eugene did live at home. Checkley is the one who lived in the apartment that you had gone.
Oh, but where has he been? He hadn't been at home. Where was Eugene staying?
Right. He had not been at home. He had been, out a lot. To note too, as you're having this conversation, you do see the detective and police officer get into the car, into their car and drive away, as well as the gentleman with the hearse. They take the Eugene's body out. I assume you're kind of probably in order for you to have this conversation, you would have gone out. And down the block a little bit.
I assume that we were either on our way home or whatever.
In or about the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we've just been at a party, but I think I could go home and use a drink. use a drink.
Yeah. Dr. Bentz,
yes.
in your studies of Hungary, is it not with European royalty? It's common to have royalty go from one country to another. That's happened all the time. So theoretically, could it be possible for them to go, say, from Germany to Hungary and then become royalty there. So maybe that's why the accent's dropping. The accent's dropping because their native language might be German, for instance.
It's certainly possible. Keeper, when her accent dropped, what did it sound like to me?
Sounded American.
I would agree with you, Harvey, except when her accent dropped, she sounded American.
And
she could have been educated here, though.
And the name, and the name Varga is a common Hungarian name. It's not German.
Right, and there is no tie to Europe that I can think of aside from Hungary.
Yeah. Well, we know that Zoltan specifically said that she had no English before she came here, and so it had been hard on her in these last 6 months. So they're frauds, and that that's my general idea, is that something was revealed that shocked and unhinged Eugene, possibly because he was already in a state of mental disarray, because of the reefer, and maybe something else. I mean, he's been, perhaps the thing that the Wilcox parents were getting right was that Eugene has not been himself. What they were getting wrong was that it had to do with Ariadne.
Possibly.
For the sake of Garland there, I think maybe we should all go home, get some sleep, think about these things maybe. You probably can't help but think about them. And then maybe we should get together at my office maybe tomorrow, say around 10 a.m.?
Sounds fair.
11 a.m.?
That'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right.
So you all go to your respective homes. The rest of the night passes, probably fitfully for most of you. And the next day, you get up. There is an article in the paper for those of you who get the morning paper that Eugene Wilcox was killed the night before. Basically says that the circumstances state that it was likely due to, or sources close to the case state that it was likely due to his own hand. And with that, when you can all meet up at Benjamin's office.
Audrey, they'll all be arriving in a few moments. Let's make sure we got drinks for everybody if they need them. Coffee.
And nobody's heard from the Wilcoxes?
No, not unless
angry phone calls in the morning.
No, unless one of you had decided to call them, you have not heard from them.
Most likely, the police chief gave them our story. Whereas parts we're not getting paid, but.
Carolyn, did Eugene have any siblings?
I don't believe so.
That's
none that you know of.
All right, so we're all together.
Okay.
It's Marjorie, my secretary.
Yay, Marge.
Please tell me you have coffee.
Yes, we got coffee.
Oh, thank you. I beeline for it.
So after sleeping on it, does anybody have any ideas? What's
Look,
there's things I don't think are connected. I don't think the fact that they're frauds are connected with the murder.
Wouldn't make sense that they are.
Look,
No.
One thing I can think of, I mean, the German fellow, Gerhard, whatever he was doing last week really got under Zoltan's skin.
How so?
Whatever it was, because from what I understand, they were doing a seance to contact Ariadne's mother. And that it ended, I think it was jazzed up a little bit, but it was, it was, I don't quite believe it myself, but anyway, it ended poorly. But I mean, these kind of things, right? I mean, they're trying to learn things about people to try to impress them with their magical ability. So Gerhard digging into Ariadne's mother upset Zoltan quite a bit.
But he's using this spiritualism. It's nonsense. You know how to know if your house is haunted? It isn't.
But did they explain what they meant when they said it ended poorly? What does that mean?
Look, keep foaming at the mouth, people throwing up. It was
Really?
Well, that again suggests perhaps there are
growling,
substances involved.
growling,
Aerosol.
choking, screaming. They're trying to talk to Ariadne's mother.
Benjamin, what do you think about maybe questioning Gerhard?
I have his business card. He gave one to me.
That might be interesting just to see his take on what happened that evening.
Perhaps, especially if a seance ended that spectacularly poorly, it seems like we definitely want to dig into that at least a little bit.
Although he didn't flee the house as quickly as, say, Checkley did. We saw him go. I want to speak to this Checkley lad and see if he's lacing his marijuana cigarettes with, I don't know, an extract of cocaine or something.
I know where his apartment is. I've been there. He wasn't there when I was there, but
The other thing I want to do is talk to other boys who went into Ariadne's room.
If
Nobody
we
can
find
name
them.
any of them.
they haven't been seen since at those
They
parties.
don't come back to the parties. So is it something the other fellows who weren't armed and couldn't shoot themselves, did they have some other terrible experience?
It's possible. Actually, I do want to track down the professor who I spotted at the party, Morgan, in archaeology. He's a
The CAD, right?
yes, to say the least. However, he's been to these parties, from the sound of it, longer than any of us. So I might be able to get something out of him if I were to press the issue somewhat.
I have a weird and wild idea. Our boy, Stuart, he seemed rather obsessive, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Wanted this Ariadne, but wasn't getting her. Have you ever seen one of those stage magicians hypnotize somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Mesmerism, I think they call it. What if we figure out that our Stewart fellow was getting his revenge on the other people because they've all seemed to have disappeared, unless they haven't disappeared. We haven't just found them. And that somehow he's managed to get our victim to commit suicide. Ariadne said something that just struck me as odd, and I thought about it this morning. His personality changed. It was as if he was in the middle of a conversation threatening her, and then suddenly he turns the gun on himself and kills himself. That seemed very odd.
He was the impression I got when he was downstairs, he was very much out of his mind. I mean, he was unprompted, was waving his gun around, saying how we'll defend her honor, but
I saw his smile when she picked him.
And remember, when you say out of his mind, he was, definitely smoking pot. So, that
made him. I'm just trying to figure out a way. If I can't think of any real way where that Stewart could perpetrate a murder the way I think that it is. In any real manner. I don't think he was in the room. We would have seen him leaving the room. So he was outside the room.
I think Garland, myself, I think Eugene saw something.
You think he saw something in the room?
I think he got startled by something. Whether it was real or hallucinated, it is another matter. But I think something
he
in there startled
and
him.
then, if you saw something so terrible, wouldn't you just try to run?
Maybe.
Not suddenly take a gun and stick it in your mouth and pull the trigger.
I mean, I've never seen. I mean, seeing Eugene dead like that's the most terrible thing I've ever seen in my life. I
That's
don't.
pretty hard on you.
But I mean, I don't think Ariadne is. I think Ariadne says what she thinks happened, but I don't know if that's necessarily true either.
She definitely jumped out the window.
Well,
and again, I mean, this whatever happened in there. I mean, that led Eugene to killing himself and her hurling herself out her second-story window.
Exactly. Some people who see very shocking things sometimes have lapses of memory. So whereas maybe Ariana had a lapse of memory, Eugene was driven to shoot himself. I mean, this is all speculation, of course.
Except that Ariadne didn't say that she didn't remember anything. She remembered him yelling at her.
She was very vague about what he said, though.
Well,
and rather vague in general.
Mm-hmm.
That could be shock, but
certainly
could be a head injury.
Although
I remember much more today if we talked to her.
Although, was it me or did what she told you and what she told the police seem to differ somewhat?
A little.
So she might have had time to let her mind clear.
I'd be highly interested in if the Vargas have stuck around, whoever they are. I mean, we don't know where their money's coming from.
We'll have another soiree next week.
I mean, the amount of police interest in them now.
And that Frida must move. I mean, either everybody at the party took a bottle with them, or Frida is a much more efficient housekeeper than we thought. There was a lot of stuff to get rid of. The empty glasses alone would have been enough to fill a bathtub full of drinks, cigarette butts.
And yet the place was pristine as far as we could tell.
Well, so to be clear, it wasn't, like it was pristine. The bottles of alcohol were gone. You likely saw a couple glasses still around. Ariadne was holding the glass of brandy.
That's medicinal, though.
And Benjamin, you know that Stuckey is not one to kind of uphold those laws.
We all know where all the speakeasies are. We go there ourselves.
Exactly.
So the thing is that it's not illegal to have drinking at parties. It's illegal to sell and buy alcohol. So a lot of these rich people have stocked their cellars full of alcohol. That's perfectly legal. So,
so by this point, it's been at least half hour, 45 minutes, getting close to 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Well, do we go to the Wilcoxes ourselves as a group? Do we make a phone call?
I think we talk. We still have a job to do now. We have to figure this all out. And I'm sure that if the Wilcoxes are upset that we managed not to save their son, at least we can find out what the hell happened.
Also, how often he carried a gun around.
I want to talk to this. I want to talk to the Portman family. I have a funny feeling we're going to find pictures of Ariadne all over the kid's room. If he's
now, Portman's not a kid, is he?
No, he's early 20s.
Another student.
About the same age as you and Eugene.
So I guess he is a
year
kid.
Younger or two.
Mm-hmm.
You're all kids to me, except Mr.
So
Portman, except Mr. Mullen, Vandermolen, and Harvey.
Oh, Harvey's a kid at heart.
She could have broken his arm. I wouldn't have minded. So I think my plan is I'm going to investigate the Portmans. More about Stewart.
What are the rest of you going to do?
All right, Father, I think we should go pay a visit to the Wilcoxes at least.
Yeah.
Our condolences.
Yeah, figure out arrangements and things.
Tell him I won't stop until I figure out what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that he killed himself for a real reason.
I'm going to definitely want to grill Professor Morgan. And after that, try and dig up anything I can about possibly Ariadne herself, maybe about her mother, because for some reason that seance went bad when they tried to contact her mother.
Oh, somebody else we should talk to. I'm thinking of last week in the seance. Last week there was also that reporter from the Arkham Advertiser.
Oh, Kelly Smith.
Yeah, I've got her
She
information.
probably has the name of whoever went up with Ariadne.
She probably does. Nice thought, lad.
And Harvey, who are you going with, or what are you going to do?
I'll back up Benjamin because I usually work with him.
All right. So let's start with the Vandermolens. You head over to the Wilcoxes. You've obviously been there before. You go up, knock on the front door. Their butler opens up for you, the door up for you, invites you in, and invites you into the sitting room, offers you, a drink as is customary. And within a couple minutes, Edwin and Grace, or not Edwin, Edwin and Grace Wilcox come in, bags under their eyes. Both are wearing not bathrobes, but probably the equivalent of like a I can't remember what it's called.
Smoking jackets, or
they're basically
like casual indoor.
While that would normally be probably frowned upon in society, you can absolutely tell that they don't care.
Right. Whereas I'll probably have an armband on or something that indicates.
And they come in, and immediately Grace comes up to you and gives you a hug. You can tell that she's been crying all night. Her eyes are red. Edwin himself, he just looks distraught. And they both, ask you to sit down. And Edwin, with his hands in his head, with his head in his hands, just kind of looks at both of you and says, "What happened last night? We're at a complete loss."
I went there and I didn't stop looking around the house until I found him, and I tried to convince him to come with me, but he wouldn't listen. And then he went upstairs with that Ariadne, and then a minute later there was a gunshot.
It was only a few minutes between when we first found Eugene and when whatever happened. The detective thinks that there may have been somebody else involved in some way, and is determined to do whatever he can to figure out what happened. I know there were drugs involved. Did he often carry a firearm?
Oh, Grace says, "Oh yes, I hated that thing. I knew it would come to it. Something bad would come of it, but he insisted." And she kind of looks over at Edwin and kind of gives him a little bit of a dirty look for a second. You always, you said that I was overreacting, but look at what happened. And with that, she kind of breaks down a little bit. And in turn, he says, I got it for him as a present on his 18th birthday, and he carried it with him. It was a sign of stature, and I don't think he ever really used it for protection or anything like that. But this is all just a shock.
Of course it is. It goes without saying that we're terribly sorry that we could not prove ourselves to be more effective in preventing this tragedy, and you have our every condolence.
So Grace says, she composes herself and says, Thaddeus Garland, I thank you. Look, you did I'm sure you did everything that you could. Please believe that we do not hold this against you or over you or anything like that. Um, I'm confused though. You said the detective doesn't believe this was suicide, but he was here last night and said that it looked like it was suicide. I'm very confused.
No, I'm sorry. I mean Armand, not the police detective.
Oh, and Grace, looks very confused still. So he doesn't think that it was suicide. That he thinks somebody did this to him, to our Eugene.
Well, I think partly like we do, he feels that he didn't do enough. And so he's clutching at straws, really. We know that we have every reason to believe that Eugene and Ariadne were alone in the room when he pulled the trigger. But we do think there might be some cause that we don't understand yet. And we're going to continue to pursue that possibility in his honor.
And Edwin says, please do. I will continue to pay for your service, for your expenses. If you think something is going on here, I want you to find out what this is and let us know. If these people are responsible for our son's death, they will pay. And I want the proof to be able to do what we can in our power to make them pay.
Yeah, if the Vargas or whatever their actual names are had a hand in it or something that they did caused Eugene to do this, we'll find it.
And Grace, at that point, she just kind of sits up, straightens up a little bit, gets a hardened face, and says, I knew that girl was always a bad egg from the beginning. I knew something was going on. Please, do what you can. We will, if you need money, if you need anything, let us know, and we will get that for you to get to the bottom of this. Because if I believe you, if you don't think that this was suicide, which I can't believe that it was, then we need to know. We need to know the truth.
And Eugene had never indicated in the past anything like a suicidal inclination.
Edwin replied, "No, never." And Grace is shaking her head, agreeing with him. Never. He was, while he was going through this phase, obviously we were concerned, which is why we brought you in, but there was nothing to indicate that he was going to kill himself. I mean, if he was going to do that, why would he be going to these parties all the time? Why would he be going out all the time? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he's not the only. One thing that we did learn, he was not the only young man to get himself caught in her orbit. Whatever game they're playing at, there are other people involved.
Well, then you absolutely need to find out, because if we can prevent this from happening to somebody else, then that is what we need to do. Absolutely. So like we said, just let us know what you need, and we will absolutely help you out. We will do everything we can. You have all of our resources at your disposal.
We'll take care of everything. Don't worry about it at all. And if there's anything I can do to help with the arrangements, be in touch, et cetera. And we'll leave you to,
Thank you.
Continue your day as best you can.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate that, and we'll let you know when the arrangements are, not to be, formal or less formal, but Eugene has not been released from the medical examiner yet. I guess there are formalities, but we're working to get him back as soon as possible and have the funeral as soon as we can.
Of course.
with that, they do excuse themselves to go further, make arrangements, and allow you to go out. Is there anything that you wanted to do before you leave?
I don't think there's anything else here.
I guess the butler's going to come and see us out, so we might as well ask Garland. I assume we know the butler's name. Was he? I knew he was out a lot, but it wasn't just his parties. Did he? As far as you know, did Master Eugene have another place that he spent a lot of time, or did you admit him late at night, or
the
didn't want to upset the parents?
Yeah, the butler's name is Fitzgerald, and he says, "Oh no, sir. Yes, Master Eugene was going out a lot, not to speak ill of the dead, but he he was going to the Vargas parties, and outside of that, I know he was going to see Mr. Checkley a lot.
No.
Outside of that, I don't know where else he might have gone."
Would it be too impolite to ask if we could just take a look at his room real quick to see if he had kept a calendar or something of places he'd gone?
The butler kind of if it's okay, I'll go and check to make sure that that's okay. And he goes and comes back about a minute later, and he says, "Oh, please, of course." And then he takes you upstairs. It's a fairly decently sized house. On the upstairs, all of it is a hallway. The doors are closed, which you presume lead to the other bedrooms. He leads you to one room, opens the door. It's very obviously Eugene's room. It's kind of not in disarray, but it's it's got some clothes hanging thrown over chairs. There's a desk there, a writing desk, the bed, a closet, a nightstand. Everything is fairly neat because they do the family does have help and servants to clean up, but kind of what you would expect to see, at least just by looking in.
Yeah. So let's see if there's a day book, or a diary, or both.
So yeah, you start looking through the desk, and you don't find anything like a diary. Most of the drawers are just kind of full of just random paperwork,
Old school
random stuff. Yeah, exactly. Some stuff from school. You do find a day book within there. Not really much written in it. You can kind of tell that going back about maybe a year or so in the day book, he's got a pretty regular schedule about school, with classes listed out when they are, when assignments are due, and things like that. And then about 5 months prior, those seem to slow down, where they're not kept as diligently. And then about 3 months ago, it's basically, there's really no entries until about a month and a half, 2 months prior, where every Friday is the Varga party that's listed. But other than that, and you do find one of the invitations to the Vargas party that you had already seen. But other than that, there's no other appointments listed in there.
And no meaningful correspondence shows up? Little bundle of envelopes?
Not that you find.
No stash.
Sorry, say that again.
No stash of reefer or anything like that.
No, not that you find. Looking around, and even more importantly, you don't find anything to indicate like a suicide note or anything like that either. There might be some written letters there, but really of no significance. Maybe one or two to like a pen pal. But nothing that as you read through them, they're just kind of idle chatter, nothing very significant at all.
Right.
You do find, I will say, you do find in one of the drawers a full box of ammo for his gun. So,
Well, Garland, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think it might behoove us to go visit.
Let's get lunch and then go talk to Checkley.
Yeah, go talk to Checkley, and then at some point pay a visit to that reporter you talked to outside. I keep forgetting her name. Kelly, was it? Callie.
All right, so we'll jump over to, let's see here. Let's jump over to Dr. Benz. You were initially going to go to talk to Professor Montgomery, correct?
Was it Montgomery or Morgan?
Morgan, I'm sorry, Morgan. Yes, you're right. So, he is in the archaeology department at Miskatonic University. Are you just going to go to his office? What do you? It's a Saturday, so not a lot.
He probably wouldn't be at his office unless he's doing some major research, which he very well could be. Academics are like that. I probably would at least looked up his office hours to see when he's going to be in.
You do show that he is not on. At least his office hours state that he is not on the weekends.
All right. At that point, well, he's probably at home, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose at the moment it's not super important that I talk to him, but I can at least look into the Vargas, and then if I have time, drop in on him to see what else I can learn. Because at the moment, I'm gonna have to look up where he lives anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll first look up what I can about Ariadne's mother, and then look him up at the same time.
Okay. Where are you going to look that up? How would you?
Well, first of all, I would probably be trying to look in any of the local papers to see if any names, if anything was listed about Ariadne, like if she had mentioned, just general things about daughter of blah blah blah, came to Hungary at this age type thing.
All right. Go ahead and give me a library use roll.
75 out of 80.
Okay. So after about an hour of searching, you do find the previous article that you found about the party the week before with what is it, the gadabout about town, I think is the gadabout, keeping up with social Arkham social scene. You do find the one that from the previous week. Going back farther, about a month prior, you do find a I guess it would. Month would be forward, so maybe a month and a half prior, you do find another article in the social pages talking about Ariadne and Zoltan. About their. It doesn't really mention their parties. It's more an article about them. And it's a very small article. It's not, very, very large at all. Just that, talking about how they are Hungarian nobles who have decided to come to Arkham after they escaped the oppression of Hungary after the Great War. It talks about how exciting it was that they were able to escape and are looking forward to starting their new life in Arkham. It doesn't give much more information than that. Other than that, you don't find anything about Ariadne, about her mother, or anything like that.
All right. Well, I suppose while I'm here, I can look up Professor Morgan's address, because that would just be in the phone book.
Yeah, you easily find that.
Okay. I do want to make I know looked up my own, like, I looked up on my own collection for, like, anything related to the Varga name.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you said I didn't see Zoltan or Ariadne there. When I was looking up the Varga name as, like, who is this family?
Oh, yeah. No.
Family trees, maybe?
Right. Yeah, you did not find anything like that. You did find that Varga is it's a fairly common Hungarian name. But other than that, you did not find any like lineages or family history or noble lineages kind of related to them specifically, or even
Right.
really the Varga name.
Right, because if I remember, what I had found was it was like if they're related to nobility at all, it's like second cousin, twice removed,
Right,
way
exactly.
far back.
Exactly.
So, all right, so maybe I'll have to put that on the back burner for a bit. But I am going to go speak to Morgan. I hope he's home. He should be.
Okay. So you go over to, his house is it's fairly near, first off, it's fairly near the campus. It is not, it's what you would expect for a professor to have. It's not overly expensive or anything like that. You kind of, walk up to the door. By the time you get there, we'll say it's early afternoon. After spending your time, doing the research, are you just going to go up and knock on the door?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's not like I could have dropped a card off to say I'd like to, call on you. So at this point, it would be a knock on the door.
All right, so you go up and knock on the door. After a little bit, you hear a voice on the other side, and the door opens, and it's Professor Morgan. And he sees you, and he looks a little shocked to see you. And he goes, "Oh, Professor Bent, or Dr. Bent, I didn't expect you to see you here. Can I help you with something? Is everything okay?"
Everything's fine for me anyway, Professor, and I'm sorry to drop in on you so suddenly, but I'm sure, I don't know if you saw me at the party last night, but I certainly saw you.
Oh, yes, I did actually. I meant to come over and say hello. I apologize for not doing so. And with that, he says, "Oh, please come in," and he invites you into his house.
As we're sitting down, and I'm guessing like their parlor, I'm like, "You see, Professor, I've been hired by the parents of the unfortunate Eugene Wilcox, initially to bring him home, and, well, now to figure out what exactly has been happening."
Oh, yes. How unfortunate. I did hear about that. It must have occurred after I had left. I don't know anything about what happened, if that's why you're here.
Of course not. When did you say you left again?
Oh, I left probably around 11 o'clock or so.
Right. That's all right then, because he would have died after midnight, which you were gone by then. But I actually had I did have some questions about previous parties, since I know you'd probably been there more often than we were, obviously.
Yeah, I've been there, a number of times. It's the parties have been fairly similar to the way that it was going last night. You have your rooms with some revelers. You have some rooms that are a bit more how should I say, classy, with everybody discussing topics of the day and so on. But that's how it typically goes.
Of course. I was curious. Did you ever get a chance to speak with either Lord Zoltan or Lady Ariadne?
Oh yes, I've spoken to them a number of times. Quite fascinating story of them escaping from Hungary, and
of course.
Quite very lovely people. I'm sure with your interest in Hungarian history and all that, if you didn't get a chance to them, you should absolutely make sure you do.
Oh, I certainly did. But there is one thing that got brought up that I haven't had a chance to really find much more out.
Oh.
Did Lady Ariadne mention her parents at all?
No, not that I recall. He kind of sits there and thinks for a second. I do know. I believe that Zoltan had said that her parents had died during the Great War, which is why he took her under his wing. But other than that, I don't recall hearing anything.
Of course. Oh my. Oh yes, actually, there is one thing I'm very curious about. Did you ever stay at these parties at midnight or beyond?
Oh, for the invocation to Bacchus, you mean? Yes.
Yes.
I've been there, multiple times. Quite a silly ceremony. I think more pomp than anything else.
Of course. Did you by any chance did you recognize any of the other young men she had taken to her room?
Oh, you mean like did I know who they were?
Yes, if you have names.
No, none of the names that I at least remember. I do recall seeing them, talking to them throughout, but just brief conversations, and nobody from the university that I know of, or at least remember. Obviously none that whose names stuck in my mind. Is there a reason you're asking?
Well, I remember hearing that, from other people, that young men that were involved in the invocation never seemed to reappear at the parties.
That I could not say. Come to think of it, I'm sure I've seen others, come back. I mean, you can understand why. But as you say that, it doesn't necessarily, or I don't necessarily recall seeing anybody. But to be fair, I was not keeping track of who was meeting with Ariadne afterwards.
Can I do a psychology roll to see if he's lying to me?
Sure.
Ought 4.
As far as you can tell, he is telling the truth. He really just, you very much get the impression, and you probably actually know this from, just working at the university, that he is somebody who, if you're not interesting to him, he's, he forgets about you, a couple minutes later. You do, though, as you're kind of watching him, you do almost get the impression that he's a little bit on edge. He's definitely shocked, or was shocked, that you are there, and he's just on edge for one reason or another.
Professor, please understand, I'm not suspecting you of anything. I have no reason to. If there's anything else that you think might be relevant, I'm certainly willing to hear it.
No, to be fair, I don't think that I can't think of anything. I mean, I can tell you that with all of the potential scandal that could come from this, I won't be there at any other parties, should they have them. But other than that, I really can't think of anything.
Keeper, did I see him get his drink thrown in his face?
You would have, if you didn't, you would have at least seen the aftermath and him walking out, and I believe that the others would have told you, so you would have definitely known about it.
Okay. All right, so just to clarify, it had nothing to do why you possibly left the party wearing a drink? Oh,
well, no, of course not. And with that, he starts getting fidgety and flustered. But that was just that was just a misunderstanding. The former student of mine, that's was just upset that she had failed out of my class. That's really all that was. You know how students can get.
They certainly can. I've certainly had more than a few offer me some rather interesting things to improve their grades, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, it was nothing inappropriate. I can assure you. I tried to help the girl as much as I could. Miss Harris. She just did not have the aptitude for my class. It was that simple. Some students you can help, some you can't, and obviously she thought that I had treated her wrongly, and obviously that was not the case.
Professor, as far as I can tell, anything that happens with students or whatnot in your personal life is not the focus of my investigation.
Well, I can assure you nothing happened.
All right. As far as I can tell, there's not really much else that is coming to my mind, except perhaps this might just be because of my area of expertise, but did either of the Vargas ever seem to you like perhaps they were hiding anything?
No, not that I know of. Hiding something like what?
Well, that perhaps they're not quite who they say they are.
Oh, no, I've never heard anything to give me an idea that they're hiding something. Quite the opposite. They seem to be very truthful and just wanting to get back to their home country. I mean, if they were trying to hide something, why would they be trying to get back?
Very, very true. Thank you very much, Professor. You've been very helpful. I won't take up any more of your time.
Oh, well, absolutely. I look forward to seeing you at the next faculty meeting.
Of course. Good day.
He shows you out.
And as I leave, as the door shuts behind me, I sort of look behind and just then go, what an asshole. And I get back in my car, sigh, and drive back.
All right. So we'll jump over to Benjamin and Harvey. Remind me again where you were going.
We were heading towards the Portman's house. I suspect that Stuart Portman might be far more involved. Now, we might not even gain entry because his parents, but I'm going to try to intimidate them. Harvey, there's some really interesting questions that we need to find out. Where, I just had the questions in my head. Yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
Where has some of the other previous people gone? Maybe Stuart knew of who else. He sure seemed to know Eugene was going in there. I'm wondering if he knew who else went in there. We could start getting names.
What's Ariadne doing in between parties?
Yeah.
She's obviously, is she sequestered at home? How are these boys meeting her? They all had invitations. How is she inviting them?
And is Stuart pursuing her elsewhere?
Right. I want to see if he's got a closet full of photographs pinned to his wall upstairs in his house.
Yeah, that might be better questioning for the second half, because that might put us back to the wall. For the first half, he might be more apt to talk about people who have gone in with her before, so we could find out what happened to them.
I don't know if he's still locked up or not, but if he is locked up, I still want to talk to his parents. They'd know whether he was acting obsessive about a girl.
I doubt he was locked up for long, because there's nothing concrete on him, and it sounds like the detective was ready to call this a suicide.
Except that he was the only one there. I wouldn't.
Oh, I agree with you, Ben. Believe me, I agree with you. Something seemed fishy there. Gunshot happened and he was bolting out the window. That's not traditionally, when people hear a gunshot, you may duck for cover, look around to see what's going on. He was running immediately out a window. That screams guilt all over the place.
I'm hoping the other detective will grill him for at least 24 hours, but
Yeah.
we'll find out. He might have powerful lawyers. These are rich folks. Not all of them rich, though. You notice that some of the kids weren't particularly rich. They're all
Yeah.
good
Mixed
looking.
bag. Yeah.
They were all good looking, right?
Yeah.
And she likes a good looking man, but that's why I suddenly started thinking maybe she ain't going after their money, because what if she's not? What if Ariadne is not Zoltan's niece? I told you I found hair up in his bed. that looked like
Oh
her
yeah.
hair.
All right. Well, but I mean, that hair describes like about a quarter of the population there.
Well, I don't think that he had a quarter of a population in his bed, but I mean, quite honestly, a young girl. Is she teenage? How old is she?
No, she's in her 20s.
Yeah,
At
23
least.
by
You know-
5 years here, left when she was 18.
There's no reason to believe that she doesn't flop on his bed while she's talking to him, while he's sitting at his desk and just got some of her hair on his bed.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
could
know,
be quite
but,
innocent.
I didn't get a good look in her room until the murder.
Yeah, I didn't
and,
even really get a good look. I was in to get the door down, saw that he was that Eugene was shot in the head, and then you called for me. So it was a very brief moment I was
Yeah.
in there.
Dr. Benz, she's suspicious of the maid. The maid doesn't seem to actually speak Hungarian, but I didn't think that Frida was actually a Hungarian sounding name. It sounds German to me.
Could be, but also like again, it's very common for families to move about Europe. They could have easily had a German heritage and then through marriage became royalty within Hungary.
Well, not a royalty. I don't think that's the way that works.
Well,
I
you
think
could
to be nobility,
married into a family.
you have to actually have land. Yeah, but I think nobility goes through the male line. So I don't think he could marry into it. She could marry it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how that stuff works, but it seems a little fishy. And Hungary's royalty is now, or nobility is all anyway. So let's
Let's see what the parents have to say if
we-
they're willing
yeah.
to talk.
So when sorry, go on.
Then I just start light on them first. Don't go heavy until if needed.
right. I'll try. I'll only intimidate them if I have to. I'll just tell them, look, talking to me is going to be way easier than talking to the police.
Yeah.
So you do when you look up his address, he is in the book. You do find that there are a number of Portmans in the Arkham City directory. You do find one for Stewart. There are a number of others that could be his parents, but you at least find Stewart's. How did you want to do that then? His address is on West Pickman Street, a nicer part of Arkham.
On Pickman Street. Okay.
Yes.
Down from the studio. I maybe beforehand we would have called from my office to see if we were talking to the parents of Mr. Stewart Portman.
Oh, his number, or just so we'll say that there's 6 other Portmans in the phone book.
Well, I would call them all.
Okay.
Until I ascertained where Mr. Stewart was staying. It wasn't staying at home. And would they mind if we came over and spoke to them?
So after the 4th call, you finally get the Portmans on the phone that are his parents. Their names are Larry and Mary. They, their address is, a nicer part of Arkham. The father is on the phone. What are you going to say to him?
Mr. Portman, my name is Detective Benjamin Armand. You may or may not know that your son was involved in an incident last night at a party. Have you been informed?
No, we have not. I'm sorry, Detective, are you with the police?
I am a private investigator, but I was
okay.
present at the incident.
Okay. And how can we help you?
Well, I wanted to ask you some questions about your son. Does he live at home or does he have his own place?
I'm sorry. I feel like this is something that I will need my lawyer to discuss. I don't just talk to detectives on the phone. If you would like to if you'd like to set up a schedule with my lawyer, he gives you his lawyer's information.
Well, first of all, I'm not a prosecutor of any kind. I'm a detective. We're trying to find out what's going on here. It'd be a lot easier to talk to me than it would be to talk to a bunch of lawyers.
I understand that. However, that being said, I don't know if I don't know what you're talking about. I will have to talk to Stuart about this and see if I can ascertain what has gone on. And then, like I said, if you would like to meet at our lawyer's office, then I'm sure we'd be more than happy to discuss with you.
That's not necessary.
All right. Well, then have a good day. And with that, he hangs up the phone.
Fine. Their reluctance, that makes me even more suspicious that they're involved somehow.
Well, yeah, just over the phone, though. I don't know. Maybe a house call might be.
Well, at this point, we can't legally.
Yeah. We're crossing lines there.
And quite honestly, I don't really give a shit. If the kid's involved, then I want him to end up in Sing Sing or wherever we in Arkham Cinda are main criminals.
Yeah.
Wherever the penitentiary is up down the coast. Well, then let's see. What else can we do? Maybe we go back to the house, make sure that they're still there, not packing their bags and getting ready to leave the country. Asked Ariadne directly about the other boys that she's picked.
Yeah. I mean, if they are going missing, then she's either part of that or
Stuart is.
Yeah. Or she could at least, if she's not part of us, she'd give us names.
Yeah. Well, let's go ask her.
Yeah, let's ask her. I think
it can't hurt.
No harm can come of that.
I mean, it's. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to make the comment that too bad Arkham itself doesn't have a penitentiary, but it's not that large of a town. I'm not sure they'd want to put a penitentiary in the same town as the university. I'll get together on the weekends and have big parties. All right, let's head over to the Vargas's temporary home.
So you head over. You obviously know where it is. Just like when you left last night, there, with the exception of there being no police cars, you pull up. As you are pulling up, we'll say it's probably about 1 o'clock by the time you get there. You see, you pull up and you see Frida outside of the house. She's putting a lid on one of the trash can that's kind of around the side of the house. Sees you and starts kind of walking up as you're walking down the path to the house. As you get close, she just kind of stands in on the walkway, looking at you, just kind of expectantly.
Good afternoon, Miss Frida, was it?
She just stares at you.
Do you speak English? Sprechen Sie English?
She just again just gives you this blank stare.
I'll proceed to the front door then.
As you start to go, she kind of grunts and puts her hand in front of you to stop you.
We need to speak to Mr. and Mrs. or Mr. Vargas and his daughter or his niece.
She seems to somewhat understand what you're saying. And so she kind of waves for you to wait there, turns around and walks up the stairs into the front door. Are you just gonna stand there? Are you gonna go up on the porch?
I'll go up on the porch door.
Yeah.
After about a minute or so, the front door opens and Zoltan is there. He says, "Gentlemen, can I help you? It's been a trying night for us, as you can understand. We're very tired. Can we help you with anything?"
Well, unfortunately we need to ask a few more questions, if that's all right. We're still trying to find out some of the details of what's been going on.
If, as you can understand, this has been quite traumatic for both of us, I would, prefer that, not to subject my niece to anything, any further questioning. If this can wait, perhaps until tomorrow or Monday.
The longer we wait, sir, the more chance that whoever is responsible for this is going to get away. So I realize that I won't be more than a few minutes.
Responsible? The boy killed himself, sir.
We're talking about the entire situation.
The entire situation? I don't understand what you mean.
We just need to close up all of the loose ends, sir.
I understand what you're saying. However, again, I believe that, in my niece's best interest, that we should wait and until she's feeling better. She has been resting all day and will likely do so. The police themselves, we gave our statements to the police. You're more than welcome to talk to them, but I must insist that we, leave her be.
Well, then, sir, maybe you can answer a few of my questions.
I can certainly try.
First of all, some clarification. You've been having these parties weekly for a number of months, yes?
We probably started about 3 months ago, if I had to guess.
All right. And you don't particularly approve of what goes on at these parties?
I don't think that I would say that. I don't necessarily approve of what Ariadne has, does. But, we are in America. This is a free country, as you say. And as a modern woman, I can only hold her back so much. I'm trying to let her, I'm trying to give her the freedom to do what she wants within reason.
Well, in these modern times, it's not so unusual that a young woman would like to experiment a bit with different young men. Does she always choose a different young man every week?
I'm not sure.
You're here, aren't you?
Implying.
I'm asking you if you're here and you've seen her choose a different young man every week.
I have.
I'm not implying anything.
I have been here, but I don't think that what you're getting at, sir, is really any of your business. I'm
not getting at anything. I'm asking you a very simple question.
Well, again, I don't think that I can rightfully answer that with respect to my niece.
The more difficult you make this, I'm the one who's being very gentle here. The police wouldn't be so gentle.
The fact of the matter is, there have been a number of missing people that have come to this party.
Well, I didn't say that because we don't know that they're missing. We don't even know who they were. But I don't say that out loud. So now you've said it.
Well, and he says, well, if you think that they're missing, then please, by all means, go to the police. But I'm sorry, gentlemen, I don't believe that I can help you in this inquiry. That the police have come, they've investigated, they have determined that the terrible event last night was was by the young man's own doing, and because of that, we are the matter is closed.
Well,
and we're
setting
trying to
that
move on.
incident aside, then the police perhaps don't know about all of the other young men. So you can answer my question, or I can go to them.
And sir, I suggest that you go to them. And with that, he steps back and starts to close the door.
This could benefit you greatly, Zoltan. What we're trying to do is help move this from an investigation that would look deeply into you to try to help you out. There could be a lot of benefit from this to you.
I appreciate that. However, like I said, with my niece's best interests in mind, I think we are done speaking here. Good day, gentlemen. I bid you a good day. With that, he takes a step back and starts to close the door. What are you going to do?
Burn the house to the ground. No, I'm just kidding. I guess I'm going to. That's all extremely suspicious. I'm sorry, Harvey. We need to
go on. Sorry.
Well, I think they've left us no choice. We can go to the police and tell them there's missing people, but we need to find out who the missing people are. We don't know.
Exactly. We have to get in contact with, say, Stuart. He would know. Maybe Dr. Benz went to find out information along the similar lines with one of the professors.
You can go to the police and find out if there are other missing boys.
Yeah. So the guests that we noticed there that we could identify, were they mostly local guests, or were some of these people like out of state, just through mingling and hearing?
As far as you could tell, they were all local to Arkham.
Okay, so missing people, would we be able to track that down then?
We should. There should be reports. Their families would say missing people.
I think it's time to go that route.
Both of you give me listen rolls.
Oh, nice. 06. That's a super duper one.
See what my listen actually.
That's extreme.
No, I didn't hear anything.
So yeah, Benjamin, you don't hear anything. You're obviously, I think, a little fuming over the way that went. Harvey, however, you have a little bit clearer head as you are both having this conversation and stepping off of the porch. You hear from within the house, Ariadne, her voice kind of yell out to her uncle, "Who was that?" And her uncle, mumbles something back. You can't quite make it out other than, something about, people from last night. And you hear her response very clearly. "Oh, did you invite them to the party this Friday?" And with that, we will close out.
What the hell? Our players included David Gassaway, Stuart Lively, Jen Obertaz, Morgan Llewellyn, and myself with Tyler Hudak as the Keeper of the Secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with our other members. You can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answering any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.
Just cast an eye while in her direction. Oh me, oh my, that perfection. I repeat, don't you think that's kind of neat? I ask you confidentially, ain't she sweet?